So here's one of my solar systems, and you can see right here, this is the charge controller. And what I like about it is you can set it to where drop in and the drop out voltage. So if you're drawing too much voltage off the batteries and they're getting low, it'll just simply shut the output off on the load area. So you connect the solar panels here, the positive and negative of the battery bank, and the positive and negative of the load, which goes to this inverter right here, which is a conventional inverter. I think it's like a 3000 watt, and it's 12 volts to 120. And if you get a 220, a 12 volt to 220, they're about the same size, and it's a 10,000 watt because you double the wattage. But this is more than enough to handle even a blow dryer or anything else like that. And this charge controller right here can handle up to 80 amps. And it has a small battery bank of 35 amp hour batteries. And I'll explain to you what that means in a minute. Other solar system, this is only 2 or 3 solar systems that I have. This is a combination wind and solar. So you can actually, runs on wind and solar. You can input, for instance, you can, right here is the solar input, right here, okay? That's where my solar panels get piped into. And this up here, and this up here, is where the wild 3-phase AC from the turbines come from. And since it's going to be about 40 miles an hour tonight outside, they're going to be whizzing away when it's dark out, so I'll probably be running the greenhouse. So what this is 3-phase wild AC coming in, goes to a breaker box, which I can hit to stop the turbine network on it without a brake. Never put it on free spin, always on or brake. It's a 3-phase bridge rectifier, converts it to 12 volts. This is the voltage controller that does the charging, controls the charging of the batteries. This is what's called a dump relay. What happens is if the batteries get up to 14.4 volts, it will dump the energy into this dump load, which is actually just a couple of very small, like less than an ohm resistors, that will draw a huge amount of current and drain the batteries down quickly. And it also works like heat during the winter. And then I have some switches for, these are resettable DC fuses in case it pops. This one's set for 100 amps of DC current. And the other one is set for 150. This is actually two wind and solar systems paired together. And I plan on having, besides this right here, I plan on piping them into the other system, another set of solar panels of approximately 12 100 watt solar panels, or 14. Currently I have 12 100 watt panels going into this one, and the other system has an 800 watt or 8 100 watt panels, and the other system in my office has a couple of 100 watt panels, and it's basically like the first system I showed you. Now down here what I have is a DC switch, so I can either I've got 2 banks of turbines, 2 banks of solar panels. So if I can shut them off, and you can see right now it's not really affecting anything, and it's still drawing 200 watts. Now I can draw up to almost 1,000 watts on this system at any given time. The battery bank is extensive. It has 5 100 amp hour batteries. I plan to expand that. What this switch does is I can either go to one bank of solar panels, or I can combine them, or I can just run on the second system. So that gives me 1200 watts right there, 800 watts in the first, and 400 on the second one. Combined, they combine to 1200 watts, or 12 100 watt panels. Now, all this is a meter, just basically an add-on that I put on there so that I can see the DC current, voltage, and the power being used, and how much I'm accumulating every month. That's a lot of power a month, isn't it? The month's almost over. Now this is a 6,000 watt inverter, 12 volt to 120. Now, when you buy an inverter, you need to be careful. First of all, you need to make sure that most of your devices don't need a pure sine wave inverter. I use a modified sine wave inverter because I don't have anything that's that delicate. some of the newer refrigerators may not run very well in any modified sine wave, but everything else usually does. Now that 6,000 watts means that you can draw 6,000 watts off of it nominally, which means continuously. This is up, but in the peak where the power spikes, you can go up to 12,000 watts. Now be careful when you read about an inverter, and it says it's a 3,000 watt inverter, but it's really, they're talking about 3,000 watts peak, and it's a 1,500 watt nominal one, where it usually runs at continuously. Now, talking about the battery banks, these are 100 amp hour deep cycle batteries, solar batteries, and they are sealed, so there's no maintenance needed. And on these batteries, I also have a couple here that are just hooked by clips, so I can split the battery bank off or take two of these away and use them for whatever purpose I want, but I'm keeping them charged. But they're also part of the battery bank at this point, so I've got a 500 amp hour battery system. Now on the lead acid and the AGM batteries, you can draw them down about 60-50%, which is 10.4 volts. And right now they're sitting at about 12.74 volts, but they can get up as high as 14.4 before the dump load kicks in. That keeps it regulated, keeps it from overheating the batteries and blowing them up. So 100 amp hour battery means that you can draw 100 amps per hour out of them before they're dead. Now, so you've got 500 amp hours right here. 50% of that would be 250. So if you're drawing 25 amps of power out of it, you can run them for 10 hours before you need to recharge the batteries. Now, that's when you're not charging. Right now they're charging because the sun's out, barely. It's been a really cloudy day. But even at that, with 1,200 watts, I still got about over 400 or 500 watts out of them on a full cloudy day and raining. So don't let anybody fool you that, well, you don't get what you paid for. Well, 500 watts will run a lot of stuff. You gotta run everything in that greenhouse. It runs everything in my office. I'll sit there at 400 or 500 watts daily on 800 watt, usually unless the sun's really out, and it'll run everything in there. So during the winter time, I'll hook an oil-filled heater to this, and that's what I'm going to put in the other set of panels, and I'll be drawing, a 2.4K system at least off of that, and it'll have a switch similar to that. And what I can do is I can power a little heater too at the same time, little oil-filled heater. And this system right now will power an oil-filled heater by itself. The main purpose of this is to power the greenhouse, so I get free energy for the grow lights to grow my food during the winter time, and it cuts down on my electrical bill about a third. I hope you enjoyed the tour, and I'll be growing more stuff indoors and doing more planting, and I'll be showing you the plants that I actually bring inside during the winter time and keep them growing so they don't die. Thanks for watching.